First of all, welcome and thank you for being here for our annual assembly, Las Villas, HOA La Ventana del Mar. Before we get started this morning, I would like to say that as I go through the agenda, I will ask for a motion and a second on the agenda items requiring a vote. I will then allow questions only as it relates to the current agenda item under consideration. Using the microphone in the center of the floor, this time is on the left side, to my right. Persons who uses the microphone must first state their first and last name and their lot numbers. Then I will call for a vote. The vote will be taken, depending on the situation, by voice, by hand, or by ballot. When the meeting is adjourned, I will open the floor for questions. All questions must be made using the microphone, same place. In order to be fair and provide opportunity for the most people present to access the microphone, the speaker will be limited to either one statement or one question with an option for one follow-up question. If the same speaker wishes another turn at the microphone, then you must go to the end of the line. Being said this, I proceed with installing the assembly. In accordance with Article 49 of the Rules and Regulations, the required notice was made to all owners of the association, the condominios La Ventana del Mar. In accordance with Article 49, Section F, I will preside the assembly in representation of the administrator. And I proceed to design Mrs. Socorro Gomez in my right as Secretary of the Assembly. Now I will ask from the floor to choose. We need 2 volunteers to be clerks of the Assembly. Who will be willing to do that? I know, not those men, please, only 2. Okay, all right, thank you, Lynn. Lynn is 1, we will be the second one. Okay, here we have. Thank you very much. Socorro, where is Socorro? Okay, when she come back, okay, thank you, Marta will help us there. Thank you very much. Now we go to establish a quorum. At first call, we have not reached a quorum. We will wait for second call in 15 minutes. Right now, the numbers are owners 24, proxies 3, that makes 27, and developer 31 votes. It's a total of 58, of a total possible number of 167, so we are at 34.73%. So we will wait for another 15 minutes. Thank you. Okay, we are back. Okay, we have 26 owners registered and 3 proxies for a total of 29, plus developer 31, that makes 60. So we have a 35.93% of representation. So we still don't have the number enough. We will wait for another 15 minutes for the third call, and we'll have the new number. Thank you again. Hello again. Okay. This is the third call, and at this time, the numbers didn't change from the last one, so we have 26 owners, 3 proxies, for a total of 29. Developer 31, total of 60. We are still at 35.93, but this is the third call, so we have a quorum right now. This General Assembly meeting is not called to order. The next item in the agenda is to approve the November 2016 Ordinary Assembly meeting minutes as recorded in Mexicali and posted in the HOA website. All of these times they have been there, so you have had the opportunity to read them. You have any commentary, please do it now. If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second? All those in favor? Those not in favor? is approved. Right now, I would like to introduce your current supervisors, Mrs. Marta Rezac and Mr. Gary Lambert. I want to thank them for their enthusiastic participation in the commitment in the Committee of Supervisors. Now, Mr. Gary Lambert will present the Supervisory Committee report. Please.
Okay, thank you. What I'm going to do this time is give you a brief overview. If you were at my meeting Wednesday, most of this I already talked about, but this will give you an idea. And then Roberto goes in depth with the budget and a lot of the things that we've done, not only in La Ventana, but in the villas. And instead of duplicating that or stepping on his presentation, I find it better to do this way. I do want to take the opportunity to thank Roberto and his staff for all the work they do and the help they provide us, and particularly Ricardo and Secor and her group, and Lalo with the budget. He does magic with our budget's numbers so that we stay whole and we can provide the services as we go along. Okay, for no 2018 increase in dues. This will be the fourth year without any increase. And I think, personally, I've been a supervisor for 4 years, and this last 3 and in 2018, we've been able to meet our obligations. We've made some adjustments in our budget, and we haven't had to increase dues. And I think that alone is a great accomplishment, and I owe that to the Martha and Denise and Hans and Roberto and Lalo and that group to work with these budgets in between the two elements. Because the HOA, as you know, La Ventana's an HOA, and we're a subset of La Ventana, but we each have our own budget and we have shared costs. So it's very important. So we've been able to work through this, and it's been a trying experience at time over the years to maintain our level of service at a reasonable cost, and also to keep our dues low. And in our case, fortunately, we haven't had any increase. And that gets around the cost. Okay, next. Oh, okay. Let me move over here so I can see this. I just want to mention a few things on the financials. And again, like I said, Roberto goes in greater detail than I do. The revenue, our total income is up 8% projected for 2018. We have 173 dues paying owners. We had the same last year, and we're projecting that we'll have the same amount this year. Our collections are on track for 2017. Connie Stera, who's in charge of our collections department, they've done an outstanding job for the ranch as a whole, but particularly for the villas in their collections. I think we budgeted $57,000 for 2017 in collections, and we've already, as of when this budget was done, I guess what I have in my hand is the end of July, we've already collected $88,000. So we've done great on our collections. And for 2018, we anticipate that our collections will be up 57%. So that really helps us with those owners that have been delinquent. And before I forget, I think it's towards the end of the program, there's a resolution that's up for a vote to start making collections and liens against condo owners who are more than a year delinquent. Now, what we did, I think, a year or two ago on all three meetings, EDR, La Ventana, and Las Villas, we voted on they would go back 3 years. And the main reason at that time that it was set at 3 years is that EDR has so many delinquencies, and their dues are, quite less than ours are, and much less than La Ventana. So for them to start at a year, it would be too much for them to handle. It's too many, I guess, thousands of those. So last year I asked Roberto, or sometime during the year before the meeting, I asked Roberto and Doreen, I said, for the villas, our dues are so much that, over $3,000, that's if somebody is delinquent for more than a year, that's a lot of money to us. I mean, that's more than many, many years for EDR. So we need to adopt a resolution at this General Assembly meeting that would enable the villas to just, after you've been delinquent for a year, we start doing collections, and that'll help us. And if it's any indication based on what we've collected so far and how our collection activity is going, that'll be a big benefit for us financially. The LV resort fee for the villas will increase 100% in 2018. Last year we got $22,500. This year we're getting $45,000, and we're getting 50. We split that 50-50 between the mountainside and the seaside. But what we're doing, and that helps our budget tremendously, because I'll talk a little bit later about the sewage treatment plant, and we're using some of this increase in our share of the resort fee to offset the sewage treatment plant cost. Our total income for 2018 will be up 8%. Our total expenses increased by 8% also for 2018, so at least we have an offset wherein we're not incurring any more expenses than we're taking in revenue. And the revenue is broken down into dues, the resort fee, and collections. The sewage treatment plant has a major impact on this budget as it relates to our financials, although we have, as I said, we're taking care of that with the 40 of the 45,000, we get 40,000 of it from the resort fee. We have shared activities between La Ventana and Las Villas, and we pay a percentage of that back to La Ventana for those services. Well, the sewage treatment plant at times has much more activity than would be normal because of the renters and the amount of people that are in and out of here. So in all fairness, we agreed to pull that out of that shared cost and do as a separate line item. So I think our share is like $67,000, but $40,000 from the resort fee is going to go against that to offset that, and then we pay the balance, which would be what we would normally owe anyway if we didn't have renters. And that was one of the beauties of the resort fee, that it's designed as an uplift for renter activities that increase the usage and the different things at the ranch that otherwise we as owners would have to pay for. The small pool security is down 25%. Now that is not La Pool. That's our two small pools. So we reduced that cost 25%, but we did not reduce, actually we've already done it. Roberto and his staff have already done it this year, 2017, will carry over 2018. We have not reduced the staff or the hours of coverage. They moved the times around or when they report or however all that works. So we keep the same security of the two pools as we previously had, but we reduce the cost by 25%. And that's an example of the HOA, independent of the supervisor or anybody, taking action to further reduce costs for the seaside community as a whole. They don't need a lot of input from the supervisors on some of that. They know exactly what they're doing, and it's invaluable, the service they provide. Okay, next. The Baja Medical Center. Fortunately, Steve Kimmy, who's the president of EDR supervisory group, is here today. And he was part of the negotiations for the new contract that they're going to sign with the general administrator, Jesus Almas, on the Baja Medical. And I could talk in generalities concerning the integral part of that, and you probably don't need to know everything about it, but there's some really important parts with this new contract. And Steve has graciously agreed to make a few comments to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. So I'm just going to take 5 minutes and hit this pretty high level. As Gary mentioned, you guys are part of the La Ventana HOA, and then we have the EDR HOA. So there's 2 contracts with BMC. Each HOA has a contract. A committee was put together in October of last year with the EDR supervisors and Hans representing La Ventana, along with Roberto, to negotiate and find out what we need for medical services. We started out last November doing surveys amongst owners, some demographic information, but asking people about experiences with BMC, what they did, what they want, how things worked out. And then we built I call it an architecture, a 10-year plan. What do people want to see in medical services, right? Not just BMC, what do they want to see? And we went and shopped that around the BMC. We went to Amatera, which is a big hospital up in Mexicali and has a clinic there. They expressed an interest. We talked to some local doctors about doing some things here. We engaged Sharp Medical out of San Diego. They're not on Ciudad Cortez side, but they're very involved with Baja on the Pacific side, Ensenada, Tijuana, Rosarita, etc. as a consultant. At the end of the day, we only had one option, and that was BMC. Nobody else wanted to do anything with us. I'm sorry, this is kind of a backwater town, and nobody wants to come to San Felipe. You know, they want to be in the big city. So we went through the negotiations. We laid out some major requirements. One is no fixed price contract. We want to tie the cost to the people. As we get more residents and owners, then they get more money. As we lose residents and owners, they get less money. So, you know, all boats rise and fall with the same tide and things. So we got that in there. We also put in some requirements about reporting. HOAs, we pay money and we get no reports. I mean, there's a board, advisory board, and they put out a notice. But the HOA, we have no idea where our money goes and stuff. So we made that a requirement. That's in the contract. And then the also thing is, the current contract basically says BMC will provide emergency care service, period. That's it. That wasn't enough. We have, and if you look at the EDR presentation that's up on the web that I did yesterday, probably 10 to 12 pages of services that they're required to give to us that are in the contract. So we list everything that they have to give to us. So when we negotiated this, once we negotiated, we got a new draft contract that was then sent to Jesus Almas, because he's the administrator, he signs. He reviewed it. We had a meeting yesterday after the EDR GA meeting to get Jesus's comments back. We're taking those and sending them to BMC. Once those are satisfied, then Jesus will sign and we'll have a brand new contract. When we did the surveys, we asked people on a monthly basis, what do you feel is a reasonable amount of money for each lot to pay to cover having an energy care center here? And it ranged from, well, zero, we shouldn't pay anything, to $25. The average was $10. The negotiated rate that we have is now $9. So we're under the rate that people said was reasonable. We have a lot more services. The limitation on 3 visits per year is removed. As many visits as you want. If you have relatives down here, guests down here, and they have a problem, they can go to the BMC. You need to have your current HOA card that shows you're paying dues, and therefore you get entitled to the $10 copay. If you don't have that card, if you're not paying dues, you live in Pete's Camp or the Ejido or something else, your copay is $30. So, did this go away? Well, I guess. So, yes, okay. So that's kind of where we are on the contract. contract. We're getting more stuff for less money, and we hope to have it signed within the next week to 10 days. So, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Well, just our luck, we'll have some, but I can hear myself over here at this speaker. Well, I'm in good shape with my hearing. It's a great benefit for us, and that $10 copay and unlimited visits, and if you have family here, guests, or something like that, versus the $30 and limited to 3 a year. I mean, it really, and it's tied to dues paying owners, so it fluctuates back and forth. Those are great benefits for El Dorado. Okay, next. Okay, the golf course assessment, it's on the ballot today, and I know that there's a lot of feelings, pro and con, and lukewarm and very hot, but it's one of those things that face us each year, whether you play golf or not. It is an asset. If it's not taken care of, it goes back to desert. And we've got, the developer has like a $13 million investment in that golf course. Now, the good news is, if you want to call good news, we have as you know, I've mentioned to you previously, a CAM debt, which is the company that holds the debt for us from the HOA management fee that we didn't pay, that 15% a year that they didn't pay for many years. So we have that debt. I was able to negotiate a deal with the developer wherein for 2017, 18, and 19, 2017, because we're currently in that, and we have the assessment. In 2018 and 19, that assessment, if that passes, it will take that amount that is paid as the assessment and offset it against CAM. Now, what does that mean? We owe about $550,000, so that's going to mean about $240,000 credit for us against that CAM debt for that alone. For La Ventana, they have more dues paying owners, and roughly, if most of them pay, they're going to reduce their debt, 85–90%. They may only have 100,000 debt, so it's a win-win for both. And I have found, regardless of what people may or may not think, many ideas myself and others have floated to the developer and had discussions with, and I've always found if they're reasonable and prudent and they're financially sound, he'll do what he can to accommodate. And this certainly is one of those things, because that's a big boost to us, that instead of just paying that assessment and other than the golf course stays functioning, we don't get anything for it. This time we do, and it's pretty significant dollars for us. So I think that's a win-win for us and for the developer. There will be no change in the amount the owner still be $469 a year. Okay, next. The other highlights, as I mentioned last year, we renegotiated our reallocation formulas with La Ventana del Mar. Remember, as I said, we have shared cost contracts, a whole bunch of things that is done both for La Ventana and for the villas, but La Ventana pays for. We redid our formulas over the last couple of years, so that has been reduced by $30,000 that we pay them. Now, in turn, as I mentioned previously, on the sewage treatment plant, we've picked up some of that activity because of the amount of renters that we have here, and as a result of the resort fee, we've taken that money to offset that cost. The sewage treatment, that's still on hold. That was on hold last year and it's on hold this year. We're waiting to see what the investors do. We had that ready to go a couple of years ago when I made some presentations. The cost for the sewage treatment plant changed pretty substantially before we put that assessment out, so we put that on hold. We're looking at options, or I will be with the developer probably in either this month, next month, or January. Again, it depends a lot on the Summers Group, what becomes of that, if anything, and hopefully that that works out, because then they'll take care of it. But anyway, we're looking at what options we may or may not have with the sewage treatment plant as far as it would apply to an assessment, a special assessment for owners on the seaside community. The last thing I want to do is to push for an assessment and we don't get enough money and then we have to refund it. Unfortunately, that's what happened on the mountainside with the non-electric, and they had to refund that money back to the owners. And I obviously don't want to go through the pain and agony of that, so that's still on hold. But one of the things that I think is important is, even with that assessment, although, like I said, it's on hold, we're getting $1.25 for every dollar we put in, so that's 125%. So as an example, if we had the golf contract, and we get credit for the next 3 years, and we have to do the assessment, or maybe it was in progress now, our debt would be wiped to zero by the time it was done, and we would be debt-free. We negotiated also an 8% developer contribution for the commercial usage for the annual operation and maintenance cost of the sewage treatment plant. That's the pavilion, the Lapa Lapa pool, Juanita's if they ever use that, the engineering building and those type of things. So he's going to give us a credit of 8% against the annual operating budget for the sewage treatment plant. And that'll be, roughly $8,000. But at least he's kicking in. I said to him, we're running the sewage treatment plant. The seaside community is paying for it, but you're benefiting from it. And, you need to kick in your portion of what a commercial usage would be percentage-wise of that total cost. Also on the pickleball court, and I'm sure Roberto has slides on that, we've converted the 2 tennis courts at Lapa Lapa into pickleball courts. They'll be open, is it March? In March. And also that will enable us to have the International Pickleball Tournament back here at the ranch. And it'll be a dedicated court just for pickleball and also for that tournament. And that'll bring in a lot of activity at the ranch, potential buyers, and a lot of money also. One other thing I want to mention before I turn back over to Roberto about the CAM debt, the debt that we have. The developer, he was approached by myself and some other people. I don't know, it's probably a lot of people, but particularly I know I did. A couple years or more ago, when he was talking, and it looked as though he had a lot of investors, and it might prove to fruition that that debt, that's an asset. If you understand budgets and capital budgets and all that type of stuff, which I do, that's a big asset. So my question was, if you sell this, you do a joint venture, you do an interest, what happens to that debt? Because that's an asset. And for the seaside, that's over $1 million. Plus there's a clause in there that it can charge 18% a year interest, which he has never done and won't do. Well, he has entered into an agreement with the HOA wherein if there's a sale or a joint venture, that money can't be touched. It can never be called in and it can't incur interest. So we are protected now from a potential investor coming in and taking that as an asset and calling in a bank note. And I think for EDR, probably 200,000 or something like that. So that's a big thing that the developer agreed to with the HOA. Also, at this time, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Martha Rizak, who's my co-supervisor. She's been a great help. I've probably been a burden to her at times, but that's a topic for another time. But we've worked as a great team, and we hope to continue that, and we want to hold down our cost to deliver our services and do what we can with the condos in the community based on the circumstances that we work under, and I certainly have appreciated your support, particularly Martha's. Roberto.
has been very informative and very good. I think so everybody appreciated all the information that was provided. Okay, the next point in the agenda is the nomination and election of one supervisory committee member in accordance with Article 66 for a 2-year term. In 2016, we started with a process that was notified by the newsletter and in the web and in the different ways that we have to communicate with all the base of owners, that if somebody was interested in running for supervisor's position, they can send an email directly to me, which will be analyzed with the supervisor's committee and see the eligible of the people if it is stands okay with all his HOA duties. So we received 2 nominations in that way, which one is Mr. Gary Lambert, the other one is Mr. Michael Schwartz. Anyhow, we still can't have nomination at the floor. So at this moment I open the nominations at the floor for supervisor's nominations. Is there somebody who are the one to nominate? And you, sir?
I had a question. I see 2 candidates here.
This is just nominations. This time we cannot make questions. It's just to assign. Say somebody, I nominate.
There are 2 candidates on the ballot. Where's Mr. Schwartz?
Right there.
Okay. Is he going to speak?
Yes.
Okay, good.
But first we have to take the nominations and then each candidate will speak. So right now we have Eric's.
Second nomination for Eric.
Okay, perfect. So right now, Eric, please go with Socorro to fill out the form, and then we will proceed with the presentation. Thank you. All right, so we will proceed right now with the presentation of each of our nominating candidates. And I will start with Mr. Gary Lambert, please. There is the mic.
Dancing around the room and dropping them all over the floor. I made a presentation for supervisor, I guess about 4 years ago, and it's been a while. I was reelected 2 years ago, but I didn't have anybody running against me, so I didn't have to tell you about myself. But I thought since it's been 4 years, and we may have 1 or 2 new people, whatever, I'll go over a couple things about myself and then about the HOA. My wife and I purchased a lot in a condo in 2005, and we sold a lot and took possession of our condo in 2012. We live in the condo during the winter months, so when we are here in the condo, most of you have been there at 603, we're actually living in it during the winter. I Skype the supervisors meetings when I'm not here. And we have those meetings in this room and some other type meetings too, but most of them are in this particular facility. We have a terrible internet connection with Telnor, not the pavilion, but just Telnor in general, as I'm sure all of you are aware of and have experienced that. Actually, my internet's out now at home. Anyway, what I did, it was such an aggravation that the new service, I call it Links, I had that. I paid for the installation. Pat Butler gave me permission to put the tower on top of this building, and I pay the monthly service fee for this internet connection, so I can Skype into meetings anywhere within the world, but particularly when I'm not here. And also, Martha and I probably talk about once or twice a week, or sometimes even more. So we stay in contact quite a bit, either by telephone or with Skype. My background, I'm a Navy veteran, not retired, I'm a Vietnam era. I was at one time city policeman and West Virginia state trooper for a number of years, and during this tenure, I worked my way through college. I have an extensive background in safety, risk management, security, risk management, particularly with insurance. I bought $400 million plus insurance each year from Lloyd's of London. For corporations in the natural gas industry, printed circuit board companies, and also the California Bay Area Transit Company. As a director, I prepared and managed budgets in excess of $20 million for over 40 years. What skills do I bring to the team? I'm experienced in budgets. I have an overall understanding of branch management groups and their working relationships and interactions. I can manage, and I do manage through conflict to defend my positions with fact-based information, regardless of the challenge. I feel as though that I do problem resolution, and that's a can-do attitude. And I'm very proactive and results-oriented. People that work for me over my working career, if anybody can do problem identification. So if you have a problem, bring me a solution, and preferably bring me about 3 solutions. My philosophy is to work in partnership with others to deliver services that meet owners' needs at a reasonable cost. Understand and influence correct development of financials. Communicate with owners, peers, and range personnel, and promote and test new ideas with all impacted. Excuse me. And I think we've obviously done that with our budget and no dues increase the last 4 years, and still delivered our services. My accomplishments during the last 4 years. I think if you're running for supervisor, and particularly if you've been a supervisor for a while, you ought to be judged on what you've done, not who you are, or who likes you, or who doesn't. But what did you do? What did you do for me? Why should we vote for you? I used my understanding of revenue, expense, capital budgets to champion reworks of allocations. I stopped the accumulation of the CAM debt, period. When I became a supervisor, I quickly realized that we had a debt of about $500,000. And that was because the villas were not paying their, what I call the HOA management fee, the 15%. I put a stop to that. Also, I found out quickly that up until that period, your dues had increased 60%. They started at $185 and they went to $296. I put a stop to that. The last 2 years, we have paid our HOA management fee, our 15% that we're required to pay, and we haven't increased our dues, including 2018 for 4 years. No increase in dues and no more debt accumulation. You can do that if you understand budgets and if you understand it thoroughly. We negotiated with the developer, as I mentioned, for the 2017, 18, and 19 golf assessment that can be used to reduce debt. And I mentioned the reductions that would be applicable to both the villas and for La Ventana with that credit. We also negotiated a commercial fee of the 8% that the developer would pay. We reduced about $30,000 a year our shared cost with La Ventana del Mar. We've used our resort fee as it was intended to offset the uplift in renter costs of our facilities. We also, although we didn't do the STP project, we negotiated a 125% credit against our debt if we did that. And again, I guess in mentioning, we haven't had an increase the 3 out of the 4 years that I've been supervisor. That first year, the budget was already done. And in 2018, whether I'm a supervisor or not, you won't have an increase in 2018, so that's 4 years. I appreciate what I've done, I appreciate the people I've worked with over the last 4 years, with Denise and Steve, particularly with Martha, because she's my co-supervisor, and Roberto and that group. And I hope to continue doing that. Thank you.
Okay, very much. Thank you, Gary. Now is the turn to speak for Mr. Michael Schwartz. Please come to the front.
Mr. President of the Assembly, Ms. Secretary, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Michael Schwartz. In 1999, my wife Sylvia and I, we purchased land in El Dorado Range and built our house in Las Medanas North. In 2002, we retired and moved here to live full-time. We also own property in Las Ventana del Mar and Las Villas, as well as in various communities in the EDR. Because of our heavy investment here, I always was and always had huge interest in the success of all HOAs and all communities. Over the years, I have been involved in operation of the range and was elected and nominated to serve on many committees. I have extensive knowledge, experience and understanding in details of county regimes, rules and regulations, CCNRs, budget, range policies, HOA operation, and interaction between departments. I also have experience in negotiating from strength and understanding on what can be accomplished dealing with many details and regulation of our HOA. I have teaching degree in music education and an engineering degree in electronics. I own and operate a very successful office equipment service business in Sacramento for 20 years, dealing with many contracts, dealing with many government contracts, negotiation, and school districts. I was elected vice president of the HOA, the community when we live in Sacramento. As a supervisor, my commitment is to focus on our community, to give appropriate time and attention of bringing our community to higher standards, better levels of services, and for our residents and owners. As a supervisor, I will work hard so that we can continue to protect our investments. As a supervisor, I will strive to keep the board strong and maintain our community services, to make sure our community remains the place where we can enjoy our lives, our properties, and our homes. I'm running for supervisor position at request of EDR supervisors. They feel the Las Villas do not have good representation at the monthly HOA meetings due to the fact that my opponent is not here full time of the year and does not attend all meetings in person. Also because of your encouragement and your stories to run for supervisor, to communicate your stories and your issue to HOA board. My focus is what's important to our residents. You and I have the same problems, the same frustration with leaky pipes, leaky roof, garbage bags in the driveway on Monday and sometimes even on Tuesday left by our renters, complain about rental management company, and so much more. Like you, I discussed it in an outrage by the assessment which was proposed by our supervisors for sewer treatment plant, even if it did not go through, but it's still in work. Every time our community have financial problem, our present supervisors have a solution. And the name of this solution is always the same. You guessed it, assessment. My involvement with member services at the range started in 2002, years before HOA was formed. I was elected as community representative with 2 other residents, and this time we did not have any HOA. In 2005, when HOA was established, I was elected and re-elected co-chairing with Warren Razak for 5, and later with Nikki Tennant for 2, and with Gary Lambert for 1 year. For the last 4 years, I stay back and observe how our community have stumbled backwards. During my supervisory position with Nikki Tennant, we negotiate retainer wall constructions, we negotiate roof repairs without any cost to our supervisors. This is 2 major issues with Willis. We also kept our HOA dues under control. Even my opponent right now mentioned in his presentation what they did not increase any dues during 4 years. I have news for you. In 2015, during supervisor's tenure, they increased dues for $200. And last year, like Gary mentioned, our supervisor tried to assess all of us for $1,000 each condo for sewer treatment plant, and also La Ventana del Mar each lot. As many of our owners said to me in conversation, and I will repeat, and I with them, keep your hands out of our pockets. If I will be your supervisor, I will not support any assessments. I would love to share with you something that was told to me a couple days ago, and this is very disturbing to me. Somebody started a rumor in order to discredit me. Then I report to Technical Review Committee residents with Telnor antenna on the roofs. Let me take this opportunity to clarify and refute this rumor. I don't have anything to do with this, and never in my years at the supervisory committee report anybody for anything. My goal is to work for the HOA supervisor on both sides to keep budget and expenses in check, work full-time and represent our neighbors and community, and most important, to be your voice on every monthly supervisor meetings. We must not lose focus on making our community a better place to live. If experience counts, the ability to make things done count, the compassion, vigor, and stamina to make difference count. If making your voice count, this is why I'm running for supervisor. This is why I need your vote. I'm a problem solver. I live here full time and always available to help and always deliver on my promises. I will attend every HOA meeting. I will represent every voice. I will protect every and each resident of our community. I am very qualified. I will be honored to represent you as your supervisor, and I appreciate your vote. My name is Michael Schwartz, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Very well, thank you, Michael. Now we will go with Eric Ramirez. Please come to the front. By the way, I received a confirmation that Eric Ramirez is in good standing with the HOA.
Hi, I'm Eric Ramirez. Most of you know me. For those of you who don't know me, I've been around for about 11 years. I started working for the ranch in 2006. Worked with them for 6 years. So I know those condos. I dare to say the
close, I want to close nominations. So do we have a motion to close them? Second? Those in favor? Okay, those not in favor? Very well. Okay, right now, I think so we have to have a motion to go for the voting. Do we have a motion? Yes, we have. Second? All right. We will go by ballot, so please, our clerks, Lynn and Mrs. Hart, please go around picking up the ballots from the people. At the end, there is a table in the left side. Alrighty. Arturo, where are you? Okay. This is general meeting, maintenance and jacuzzi. We put the jacuzzi heat pump. This is a brand new, so we make a good investment here. It is going to last for a very good time. We bought for Toyota Tacoma, that is in maintenance in the Las Villas area, 4 tires. You can see that we are buying brand new tires. We are not buying second-hand tires. We want them to last, and we want our people to be safe. Next, please. Maintenance, we bought a portable ladder and a foldable ladder because we didn't have them. Next. Road maintenance. In the last rains, this is the way that we have the roads damaged by the rains. You can see by the end of the beach, we have a very beautiful lake which shouldn't be there. So we have to open through the gates away to the ocean. And that's the way that we took all the water out. But I can say that our crews were immediately at work the morning after, like the picture and the sun. They work immediately, open the roads to the sea so the water can go out. And we, in 48 hours, they were already in good condition. But we worked for 2 weeks to totally complete the work. Here you can see how they become better. Next, please. And here you can see the damage to the road to the beach. Next, please. Okay. We already told you that we repaired all of that. In road repairing, this work that I am presenting to you, this was done through September to this date. So this is the last stretch of it. If somebody hasn't been here in the town halls meetings, you can see that on the website. We have all the videos of the town halls into the website, so you can see everything that has been done from last year to this year, and maybe part of 2015, because at the beginning we were having problems to record them and all that, but that was finished. Now we have a good way to do it. Roof repair, condo 221. Next, please. Roof repair, condo 382. Next. Roof repair, condo 602. You can see how they are doing everything the right way. Condo 721. I can tell you that we haven't get back to any condo the areas that we have repaired. There have been some other leakings, but not in the areas that we have already fixed. Next, please. Roof repair, condo 551. Next. Roof repair, condo 683. Now, we already finished painting buildings. We painted condo 26, condo 31 for this year. Condo 33, condo 68. Condo 19, condo 20, and condo 37. 421, this is 42. Okay, get back one, please. Now that we have painted in the buildings that we programmed to paint this year, we are going to work harder in the roofs. Right now I can tell you we have a very short list of roofs to be repaired. When we started this, when I came in, we have like 1.5 pages of roofs to repair. Right now we have like 7 or 8 roofs to repair right now. So we have come a long way, and we want to go in that way. Paint the buildings, I already told you, you finished. We painted 8 buildings this year in total. Next please. Walkway phase 3. Sometimes when we have leakings, we have to break the cement, like we broke it right here. We have to dig, we have to take all the dirt out until we find the pipes. Usually we have to change valves that have rusted and have broken. Usually it's the valves that get corroded. So then we change them, we refill, we stamp them out, and then we put the cement, and then we stamp it back to the condition it was before. So this is the way that we are going to repair this. Next please. This is another one. We show how it is, full of water. Here is where we make all the work. You can see that it's a lot of work. Right here is the valve that I was talking about, the connector. So we redo it that way. Next please. This is Cooper, so it's going to last a long time. From building 57, same thing. Here, the good thing, there is the running water, the water running I mean. And here they dig, like you can see that it's like almost 2 meters in certain areas. It's not an easy work. Next please. This is another water leaking at building 77, same thing, the same wall. Next. Okay, this is a repairment that we did at the showers and bathrooms camp supports. You can see that we added bars into the bathrooms in Villas 1 and Villas 2. This is in the pool areas. And this is the shower area outside where you can wash out before coming into the pool. So if you come from the sand in the ocean, you can wash the sand out of your shoes and your body there, so it doesn't go into the pool. We add security bars to there, so the people can hang on into them and not fall. Next please. We changed the sinks in the 4 bathrooms, 2 in the woman's side, 2 in the men's side, and we repaired all these areas. So they were in wood, they were bad odor, they were not looking good, so we changed them with tile. Now they are good looking. We changed the mirrors, and we add the paper dispensers too. Next please. This is a pergola installation that we did Las Villas. From this position, our security people, they can move from here to here depending on the sun. But in this position, they can have a view of the entrance and a view of the whirlpool. So we have a better cover of the security of the pool in this way. Next. We changed the timers. They were for 45 minutes. We changed them for 15 minutes, which is still maybe too much sometimes, because usually the recommended time in a jacuzzi is no more than 10 minutes. But there is people coming in and out sometimes, so we allowed 15 minutes. But 45 minutes was too much. The people used to turn them all the way, stay 5 minutes and they go away. And some people just turn them back and they broke. So in this way we are trying to save on these timers. Next please. One of the pumps room, we have 2 very old pumps. We replace them. So right now we have brand new equipment. Next please. These chairs, we made them for the security people, so they are not using the chairs that are for the residents that go to the pool, or the renters or the guests. So right now they have their own chairs, and we already put them cushion there, so they can sit there. Thank you very much. So they can sit there, comfortable, and they will be taking the chairs from the owners. Next. We add these benches to the dining room for the employees because they were using very old ones. Right now they can sit and they can have their meals comfortable. We don't put cushions here because we don't want them to be too much in the lunch area. They only have 30 minutes, so they can go in fast and go out. Next. Okay, that's it. So this is the last stretch of work that we have been doing from September to this date. And from here to February, we will present it in the town hall in February. So if you want to see the whole thing of the year, you can go to the HOA website and then you can see all that we have been doing. Thank you very much for your attention. Right now I have the votes results counted by our clerks, and the final numbers are Gary 34, Michael 21, Eric 3. So it is voted, Gary, for the supervisor position. Congratulations. Thank you for Eric and Michael for presenting their candidacies. It is good that everybody participates. Okay. Right now, the next item in the agenda is the budget, so I will present it to you as soon as I can, so you don't get too much time here. Yeah. Martha says that make me short. Okay, here is the budget. You can see here that we have four columns: budget 2017, projection year number 17, budget 18, and the differences between both budgets. We have the base of the dollar at 17.75 in 2017 and in 2018 at 17.50 pesos. So you can see now that these play in our favor or against us because of the exchange rate. If the peso gets stronger, we are weaker. If the peso is weak, then we have more money to spend. You can see here the total number of the budget is $692,000, $996, and this year is $747,496. This is an increase of 8%. So what are we going to do? We expect to get more income in the annual dues. We are the same there, but in the resort fees where we are getting more money. And the cost of expenses, we are trying to put it lower. We are trying to be as effective and cost effective too with the new tools that we have been buying for our employees. They are getting better work and faster and better quality. So that's what we are putting expenses to. This is the first page that we already sent to you in the information that we sent for the HOA meeting. If you want to have all the detail, it is in the website. You can go there and there is all the budget line by line. We review it with the supervisors, not once. We did it very thoroughly. Before we present it to the supervisors, Lalo and me, and Ricardo, we sit down and we go through everything. And then we present it to them, they review it with us, and then we present it to you. So, trying to make it short, this is the budget. From $692,996 to $747,496. This is the number that we are expecting to close at the end of the year. So if there is any question, would you please do it now? No? Okay. Very well. Thank you again.
Question.
Okay,
There's
now,
your first question.
sure. Here comes the guy with the mic.
Yes, I was wondering, I think you mentioned earlier that Las Villas and Ventana del Mar are hooked up to the local sewage system.
No, we are not hooked to the local sewer system. What we do is from our sewer treatment plant, we take the water and we take it out to the downtown area and then to the south of town, where is desiccation lagoons of Cesspon, which is an entity of the state and the county. It's a water company. We do not have sewer here from the El Dorado to San Felipe. There's no connection.
Well, why are they what they do in the mountainside, just put in septic tanks?
Well, that was accepted there because you remember that there are different regimens. And in that area you can have septic tanks. In this area it was not from the beginning. This was with the STP plant, sewer treatment plant. That's why it is like it is. And here we need, as a matter of fact, there is one sewer treatment plant that has to be finished. And that was Gary was saying about the assessment to put it to function if the income of the finance doesn't come on, there will be an assessment on that. But if the income of the again investment comes in, then the developer will finish it. But here it has to be a sewer treatment plant. That was since the beginning.
Why was that?
It was decided that way. When you buy, you accept that when you sign. It is in the papers. If you read the
You can always change it.
No, it is not. It is not.
In Mexico, you can't change the way your utilities or your land has been registered or set up.
Yeah.
Once it's done, it's done.
Yes.
You can't go back and change it.
Yeah, you cannot change that. Because you have to go through a process with the government before you construct that. You present the plans, you present everything to them, and it is approved. And when it's approved, you cannot change it. To change it is a nightmare. No way. Yes?
About the golf assessment fee, does it include in the budget, right?
No, that's not there.
Okay, so it's next agenda we are going to vote, right?
Yeah, we are not there yet. We will go ahead in the next. It's the next point. Yeah, it's the next point.
Yeah, I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
How is it done, or how do you know which condo is going to get painted? Is it by age? Is it by who complains the most? How is it done?
Paint or?
Paint.
Oh, painted.
Yes.
Okay. No, we have a program. What we have been doing, first of all, when I came in, we were behind. Like I said, with the roofs, the maintenance was behind. We have been making a plan to try to do it as faster as possible, but the criteria selection that we have been doing is the more damaged one is the ones that we put first. So in that way we avoid to lose iron bars, whatever.
Well, and I might thank Ricardo for helping me out, because my condos haven't been painted for 11 years. Now, he did the trim, okay, on my condo only. Now, when you do paint, do you paint the all the condos, or just one?
It depends.
Okay.
From sometimes it is request for action. We go and we check, and if we see that sometimes a specific condo is more damaged than the rest of the building. Why? I don't know.
Okay.
But it happens.
Okay. And the only reason why I'm asking is, and like I say, I want to thank him for, because I went in there, my wood was rotting on my eaves. Okay?
Yeah.
Now they just painted over the rot, the stuff that's been split, they just painted over, didn't replace or anything like that. But they didn't paint all the rest, which I understand the way you're saying it, but all the rest are as bad as mine was, or worse.
Okay.
So when they painted my trim only, not the the concrete or the stucco.
Yeah.
So the whole building looks bad.
Okay. We will check it again.
Okay.
I'll let you
And
know.
I just a question, because to me
it's okay.
it seems that the ones that were built first should be repainted first.
What is your condo number?
221. And like I say, I appreciate that he went ahead and got my trim painted, and I really do appreciate that. So
We will check on that.
yeah, but like I say, the whole condo's been.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
We are coming ahead. I can tell you that this year we painted more condos than the local.
Oh no, and I understand what you mean about the budget and all that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to know that, you know, how come the older ones aren't being painted first? And that's all my question is.
Depends, okay, yeah. Please, over there, everybody.
On the condo paint, we had put in a request to have some stucco cracks repaired, which they did. It appeared that they were mixing a powder with water to paint. And so the back of our condo looks like somebody finger painted on it. What is the paint that they're using? Is it a...
It's the original paint. We ordered it from San Diego, we go and pick it over there, and we bring it in. Let's check on that. What is your condo number?
240.
24. Okay.
Golf site.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We'll go and check. Another question over here, please.
A question on the reserves. We only have $410. So we have a hurricane comes through or something, we don't go to that point. But usually, in condominium associations, you build up the reserves and so forth for various things that come down the road.
Yeah, I suggest that if you check in the financial statements that we put in the website, you can see that there is an amount of reserve in Las Villas. There is one. Another thing is, fortunately, we are in an area that a hurricane to come in full force here is not going to happen because we are protected by the Gulf itself. We are 1,000 miles out of Los Cabos. If we will be in Cabos or La Paz, I can understand your worry.
How about earthquakes?
Earthquakes, we have daily. We have daily. But the only one that really worries me is the big one, which is coming from all the crack, the big San Andres. That's the only one that worries me. The rest we are having usually very often, but they are minor, which is good because they take out the pressure of the tectonic plaques.
So we're kind of hand to mouth, so to speak, here, as far as financial money goes that we have.
I can't hear you.
I mean, we're kind of...
Put the mic down, please.
Yeah, we're kind of hand to mouth, so to speak, we keep living off of our month-to-month fees and so forth. So if something does happen...
Oh, yes. Let me tell you something. It is something that the supervisors here review. They review each month the expenses that we do and the income of the money and where we use it. They are on top of it, and not just Las Villas. It's the same thing in La Ventana, same thing in EDR. And that's what I always show what we have been doing, so in that way you know where we are spending the money. Because if not, you will not know.
Do we have any plans to build up the reserves at all?
Oh yes, we will keep doing that.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you think a little bit backwards of what Gary was saying, he said that our collection department has been doing it very good. As a matter of fact, I checked while he was talking, and right now in Las Villas we have collected $81,000 this year, just in dues back. And in tennis, we have collected more than $25,000, which is a record. So we are right now around $107,000 collected this year, which is not bad at all. If I compare with the company that used to manage our collections, we are way ahead. So we are getting better. That's why in each town hall, I always recommend the people to go to the website and look at all the information that is there. That way you can get a lot of information out of it. But even you can ask directly to your supervisors and they will be very happy to answer to you. Yes, Lee?
This has to do...
Let me just finish with you. Yeah.
I'm hoping the golf course budget isn't this budget here.
Well, the budget of the golf course is not in there because it is a separate contract that the company has made with the HOA. Is not into the budget.
I'd just like to know where my $469 is going, so just.
Yeah, we have at the same place in the golf committee minutes, we always put on the web the collections and a whole sheet with all the expenses that are done each month for a year. Each month we put it up back, we post it in the website.
Okay. Now we got new pickleball courts.
Yes.
And they're getting rid of the pickleball courts across the way, correct?
Yes.
So that's kind of like a golf course, is what I'm going here. Eventually we're going to have expenses on that.
Yes.
I'm hoping we don't have any assessments on that. So
No.
So
there's budget to maintain them. There's not a situation like that. As a matter of fact, this rebuilding has been supported big by EDR, I can tell you.
okay, very good.
Yeah. Yeah, La Ventana too has complemented the money, but yeah, it was not in as big as budget. Yes, ma'am. Oh, Lynn first.
I may have missed this while I was counting, so if I have, just tell me to talk to somebody else. I was wondering about the pools and the hot tubs on this side. So we have the palapa, and we also have the two little spots within the condos that have small pools and small hot tubs. To date, during the winter months, for the last few years, they have not been heated. Right now, the hot tub, okay, I was there 4 days ago, so it might change today, but the hot tub down at the Palapa, although it was heated, the jets weren't working. So I was wondering how much is going to keeping up those pools and hot tubs, and I understand the heating issue, but it'd be nice to at least have the hot tubs. We're old, we need to soak in hot water.
No, the jacuzzi should be working. I will talk with Ricardo about that because we review them each Saturday and we touch the water and we see that the blowers work each Saturday and we haven't had a problem. But sometimes, like I said before, the guy from the maintenance forget to do something and it's cold.
And they go, things go on and off, but I was just trying to get confirmation that the plan was to keep them on.
Oh yes, they are in good shape right now. Yes, please.
I have two questions. The pools, why are they so cold? Why can't we have some warm water in the pools?
Well,
I think we pay enough maintenance here to
Well,
have that. And
let me answer to you. This decision was not made this year. Right now we haven't arrived to the time that we have enough money to warm the pools, but we are heading there. That's why right now we bought the new heaters for the jacuzzis. The next step is doing that in the pools, but we have to still work on that. We are making numbers.
they've been like that for a couple of years.
Yes, I know.
At least 4 years now.
Yes, and even before.
And I don't come that often, okay, but when I come, I can't go in the pool because it's so cold.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I pay my maintenance, okay?
Yeah, I agree with you. Right now you can go into the hot tubs. We will be working into putting the pools back.
All right.
I can tell you that we are trying to do it.
Okay, second question.
Yes.
Why is everything so dark? Why can't we have some light like we used to have at the beginning?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's nice. No matter what time you would come in, there was light. Now it's just pitch black.
Yeah. This is a matter of budget too. The budget of La Ventana is the one that puts the lights on there. And right now they don't have enough money there. We are working towards that end too.
But you just got to say you collected all that money.
Yes, but we have separate budgets, as Gary's saying.
So we
There are
we get
certain,
money for
no,
that?
yes, if you are willing to give us money to La Ventana, I'd love to accept it. No, really, I can take money from, if that's agreed, I can take it. It's like, for example, EDR agreed to put money into the pickleball courts. We did it. So it's the same with the lights. If we want to spend some more money there, we can do it. I will be willing to do it. I will have one problem less to solve. I love it.
I feel that.
Yes.
That's,
Let's Gary make a comment.
okay.
I can't help you with this, but I can help you maybe the problem we have. And this is with La Ventana, with Denise, that group, and also with us. We only have enough money to go around. If all these houses were built as we had envisioned, or even, we built 2 last year, and I think they're building 2 now. And if everybody who owned lots currently paid their dues, and if everybody that owned condos paid their dues, that's why we're doing this heavy collection. And if all the condos were finished, we'd be flush with money. I mean, we would be in great shape. But it's a struggle. It really, really is. And it's a balancing act. Do you do this, or do you pay for this? Or do you lay people off? Do you lose security? It's one of those things, and you just have to spend those dollars that are most effective. And it's frustrating to all of us. If you've been to my condo, I don't have any street paved, I don't have driveway paved, I don't have any lights, I don't have any landscaping, I don't have any sidewalks, and I have a beautiful aroma occasionally from this sewage treatment plant. So you talk about frustrating. I could talk an hour about that. But Roberto and Lalo and them and Ricardo, they're doing everything they can. I mean, it's just, once you get deeply involved with this, it's amazing what they do for our community with limited funds they have. And again, if people who own property would actually pay their dues like they're supposed to, like the rest of us do, we wouldn't have so much problems. That's why we've stepped up these collections. And like Roberto said, he just checked, and I think we've collected 81,000 so far in back dues for 2017 for the villas, and we only thought we'd collect about 50-some thousand. So Connie and her group with the collections has stepped up, but it's a struggle, and that's why later on one of the resolutions, as I mentioned, to give the HOA the authority to go after those owners who are a year or more behind debt versus this 3-year thing. So it's when you look at these, I won't belabor the subject, but it is, you look at that and you wonder how we maintain what we currently have. And that's really the best answer I can give you.
Yes.
My question is, how far behind in dues are owners allowed to be and still generate income by renting out their unit?
Well, the renters are not allowed to be back in dues. They have to be on time.
So, 0 time.
Yeah, they have to be current, or if they were not paying, they have to have a program paying with the collection department right now. Yeah, they are generating income, so they have to pay. Any more questions? Okay, so now I would like to go for the voting. Would you like to do it? I think so we'll go by ballot here. Or if you want to do it by raise of hands. Perfect, okay. So let's do it by raise of hands. Those in favor to approve the budget? Perfect. Those not in favor? No. Just one, okay. The budget is approved. Thank you very much. Okay. The next item is to review and ratify proposed golf course assessment of $469 per year for a period of 2 years. So this was explained very well by Gary. We know that the payment of this due for the next 2 years, for this assessment, sorry, for the next 2 years, is going to be applied to the debt of CAM, which will be a very good leverage out of that. So if everything understand that quite well, I would like to ask if there is any commentaries or discussion that somebody wants to make. Yes, ma'am.
According to Gary, what Gary said, that we owe the CAM certain amount of money, right? But I understand in the business community, if this company, if we say we have difficulty in paying, then we can always negotiate with debtors that reduce that debt. Not only like sometimes people only have to pay 70% or 50% of the debt. I just wonder whether we have this negotiation with that CAM or not.
The original CAM contract was for 15% of all income generated by the HOA. Over the years, your supervisors had negotiated with us that we don't charge interest on any of the debt. That's a big discount. We do not collect fees on assessments. We do not collect the fee on resort fees. That's all money that is owed to us, but we didn't collect it. All you owe us now is the basic amount that was never paid on dues income. Back when HOA could not handle the payment or pay the electric bill. So we said, okay, just put it on the books, and when you can get around to paying it, you'll pay it. 2 years ago, the Las Vegas finally started paying the CAM fee on dues. So that's why that receivable got as big as it did.
So it started, so I don't think people know, when did the HOA become an HOA?
2006?
So from
2005 to 2014, you never paid CAM.
But you know, at that time, there's no golf yet. No golf.
2006, the golf course opened. There was no assessment on the golf course back then. But the 15% is a management contract to run this HOA. It's been in place since the inception of the HOA. And the bill is, and La Ventana for many years could not afford to pay it. So before we knew that, before CAM knew that, Cliff was allowing it to roll over into prior years as a receivable on the balance sheet and on the books of the HOA. So, yeah, and everybody was scared. Could Pat call that debt? He could have. We've made a negotiation with the supervisors that we've signed an agreement. We will never call that note. We will never charge you interest. So it's sitting there, and we're slowly doing things like the sewer treatment plant. We're going to deduct our portion from that receivable. The golf assessment for 3 years is going to be reducing, whatever we receive from the golf assessment will reduce that debt.
So who is the owner of the camp?
Pat.
That pays
And me.
Yeah, usually, you can negotiate that debt to reduce to 50, 70.
Yes.
This is not a pro or a con for this vote. It's just an idea that I would like. I'm curious what you guys think about it. Can we make it available for people who just don't live here to buy the same golf pass? Not in lieu of the assessment, just open it up. Like Sally Mae comes in and says, hey, I'd like to have that $469. It's a heck of a deal. Can I buy that? They do, okay.
But they buy an owner of either La Ventana or Las Vegas pass.
Well,
and
but
then it becomes a fee pass. They'll never get the same benefits that owner gets.
okay, is there a pass that the public can buy after, let's just say that we can sell all of our passes for the full amount and there are no more. Then can somebody just, is it open? A pass is open?
There's a bunch of passes that owners and these developers
yeah, it's a B thing, but there is an open pass, even if all of the ones that we've put in, aren't I positive thinking, get sold?
We also probably would agree if there was not one available pass and somebody paid us for $1,500.
Cool.
All right, any more discussion? Okay, do I have a motion to vote for the assessment? Second? Do we want to do it again by hands or by ballot? Let's do it by hands. Okay, those in favor, please? Okay, those not in favor? Okay, the vote is approved. We have the assessment approved. Okay, the next item in the agenda is resolution to take appropriate legal action against owners who are 1 year delinquent. So we go straight to the vote, no discussion. Okay, so those in favor? Okay, it's approved. Those not in favor? Okay, one. Okay, it is approved too. Oh, do I have, this concludes the business for the ordinary assembly. Is there a motion to close the meeting? Second, all in favor? Thank you for being here. Now we have questions and answers. If somebody wants to make questions, they can go to the microphone on the right side of the podium. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mrs. Hart. Thank you much for your help. Lynn.